Okay, so the hero is born, and that's what the rising sun represents, and everybody goes, oh, isn't that cute? And the reason for that is because you're biologically wired, especially if you're agreeable, to respond with caretaking activity to cuteness. And cuteness is button nose, big eyes, small mouth, round head, symmetry, and helpless movements. And you'll respond to that across the entire class of mammalian creatures, even maybe down to lizards, you know. Isn't that cute? No, it's a lizard, but you know. So that's an archetype as well. That's the archetype of the vulnerable hero the vulnerable hero newly born. And that should invoke a desire mostly on the part of males to encourage and mostly on the part of females to nurture. But males and females are quite cross-wired among human beings, and so there's encouragement from the women and there's also nurturing from the men. And of course those curves in some sense overlap, so there's more nurturing males and more encouraging females, but that's roughly the archetype. And so he looks cute and everybody goes, oh, and that's because the animators nailed that. They caught the essential features of cuteness. And he's also in the light, right? And so then the shaman Mandrill basically baptizes him. That's essentially what he's doing, and he uses something that's symbolic of the sun, which is this ripe fruit. And fruits are symbolic of the sun because of course they need the sun to ripen, and they're round like the sun. And so, and people know that they need light, and so anyways, the animators make a relationship between the fruit that the shaman is going to break and the sun. And so he's also being baptized into the sun, and that means that he's being baptized into the light, or that he's being transformed into a hero. And so then everyone's happy, and that's basically, you know, the divine father and the divine mother and the divine son and the self who's taking care of that. And there's a union between the baby and the wise old man, because the baby is all the potential that's realized in the self. And there's an old idea that the way to full maturity is to find what you lost as a child and regain it. It's a brilliant idea, and that echoes through myths all over the world. And that means you have to regain your capacity. Once you're disciplined and you know how to do something, you have to regain your capacity for play and sort of for wide-eyed wonder. And that's maybe the childlike part of your spirit. And the reintegration of that childlike part with the adult grown-up part revivifies the adult grown-up part and allows the child to manifest itself in a disciplined way in the world. And so that's all being hinted at there. And then they show, the shaman shows the baby, the newborn hero, to the crowd, and it's very cool what happens in the movie. All the animals spontaneously kneel. And I can give you an example of that kind of spontaneous action in a crowd. So imagine you're watching a gymnastics performance, right? And it's like a high-level, world-class performance, and someone comes out there and they do this routine that's just dead letter perfect, you know, and they stop and everybody claps like mad, right? And it's perfect. And so then the next contestant comes out and they're basically in real trouble because, you know, this person just got 9.7 out of 10 and it was perfect. So how do you beat perfect? And so they come out there and then you watch them and you're right on the edge of your seat, because what you see them do is something extraordinarily disciplined, just like the last person did, but they push themselves into that zone that's just beyond their disciplined capacity, and you can tell every second you're watching it that they're that close to disaster. And so you're right on the edge of your seat, and you know that they're doing a high wire act without a net. And so when they finally land triumphantly, you'll all stand up and clap spontaneously. And it's because you've just witnessed someone who's a master at playing a game, who's also a master at improving how to play that game at the same time. And people love that more than anything, to see that. It's just absolutely overwhelming because it's a testament to the human spirit. And you'll respond automatically and unconsciously to that. And that's why, that's an analogy to why the animals all spontaneously bow. Now what happens is he shows the Lion King and the sun breaks and shines on the hero at the same time. So there's this concordance between an earthly event and a so-called heavenly event, and Jung would call that synchronous. That's his idea of synchronicity, where something important subjectively is also signified by something that appears in narrative keeping with that in the outside world. And it's one of the most controversial elements of his theory, but I've experienced a variety of synchronous events, and they often happen in therapy, especially around dreams, but they're very hard to communicate because they're so specific to the context in which it occurs. They're very difficult to explain.